Hey everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Wave 3 News meteorologist Brian Good here on this Wednesday. A few things to discuss that'll get us into the upcoming weekend and even a longer-term look into Father's Day weekend. First off, visible satellite from space. As promised yesterday, very little in the way of cumulus clouds compared to what we've had yesterday, but still some out there, but not as widespread. So still lots of blue sky to really enjoy. And for the second day in a row, we are picking up some chaff over at Fort Atterbury in Indiana, just north of Columbus. And this is where the military planes, produce pieces of plastic, sometimes aluminum, depending on the type of plane it is. And it's an exercise to create an environment where their planes cannot be detected by radar. So it's a military exercise where they are producing that what likely is aluminum versus plastic, because we won't be able to see it otherwise, and it's that shininess, the reflectiveness of it that the radar is picking up on, and is drifting again off to the south there into Jennings or Jackson County. No harm to anybody, but it is interesting to see that for the second day in a row on the radar, something that I can't recall seeing in quite some time, and 2 days in a row of that. All right, so that's not even weather related, but look how quiet the lower 48 is. You got the typical fog bank here on the California coastline. Always beautiful to see that every morning. You've got some activity in the Gulf. Showers, thunderstorms. We'll keep an eye on that for any low pressure that can develop. We've got a pretty good low, even some snow across portions of Canada that is now into the colder air mass of that upper low. I mean, this is a cold air mass, relatively speaking. If this were January, this would be frigid, 0-degree weather. But it is June, so instead we enjoy 70s and low humidity. So perfect timing on that end, but really a good chunk of the country is just quiet. So what's going to happen? Well, looking ahead here, this is your warmer air, this is your cooler air. You'll see what happens as we head into later this week. The heat builds into the Ohio Valley, but then gets pushed back a little bit from the northeast and then tries to push back in again as we head toward Father's Day weekend. So it pushes in, relaxes with a backdoor front that moves in Sunday to early next week, and then the heat will sneak back in again from the west as we head into Father's Day weekend. That's pretty much the cycle we're going to be seeing. So as that happens, the heat is still back here to the west for tomorrow. It is building in, though. So the boundary layer, where we are dealing with the difference between the stable air and cool air to the north and the more humid air and heat building to the south of it, and thunderstorms are likely to develop along that tomorrow afternoon. Nothing tonight, by the way, but tomorrow afternoon they develop along that front. Now they're going to track along the front itself, where there is actually a little bit of moisture that is found in this area. Once you get into this area, though, West Virginia, northern Kentucky, and then south central areas of Indiana, the dew points, as you'll see in a minute, really drop off. So this has a very limited space to work with for a complex of thunderstorms that typically can rake the area all the way down to Tennessee and the Smokies and very humid air masses. But this case is not exactly like that. The drier air will likely be its choker on this one. But you see it blossom as we head into the overnight period, Thursday night into Friday approaches. Whenever we see this on the radar, we automatically start looking at the velocities and try to pick out if there's any type of outflow from this that'll move backwards to the southwest. And there are hints of it, but it has limited space where it'll pop. So it tries to move in, and that's important because if it moves in to our area, that outflow does, it will likely stall. It won't get very far inland. It'll put the brakes on within a county or two away from the complex. But then that boundary will be relatively dormant until the sun hits it again and heats things up Friday afternoon. And this is where the model picks up where it'll redevelop again in the afternoon period. Now, given the current trajectory of this, it would mean that areas north and east of Louisville, Carrollton, all the way through North Vernon, would be in that outflow zone that could refire again on Friday. The rest of us, dry. But that area north and east of us is what we got to watch for. Now, if the boundary were to go further inland, which is unlikely, yes, we would have to worry about it developing right on top of us with thunderstorms Friday afternoon. And we're watching it because obviously we're saying goodbye to the greatest on Friday. We want to make sure that we don't have any issues weather-wise to cause any headaches there when it comes to traffic and or anything outside. And I think at this point it's going to be mainly an I-71 corridor issue. But we will watch it. All right, so let's move along here and get into the data. The Arctic Oscillation, which is what the AL stands for, this is interesting to see this. Anytime it goes negative, cold air's dislodged from the Arctic or the polar areas of North America. It begins to move around. Usually when we have other indices that line up right, anytime we see a negative AO, here's your neutral line, and here's negative, and here's the positive, that we see some, cool shots or cold shots in the winter time. Now in this case, remember we started off toward the end of April was cool. Then Derby Day, we hit 85 degrees. That's when we saw a spike of positive on the AO. Then we cooled back down again. We even had a 50-degree day. Then we spiked again, late May. Temperatures again, 89 for about 3 to 4 days. Since then, we've had a dip. So we're going back down, as you have noticed. But notice we're going back up. Good agreement on the future outlook for this. So yes, that would fit the 90-degree temperatures we're talking about for the weekend. But then after that, next week and beyond, it's really torn. It's like, well, you get some indicators that are saying it could go back negative. Some say it could go positive again. And this is where the models are really struggling here. And it's all because of this troughiness from that backdoor front developing next week. Starting Sunday into next week, it's trying to push in from the northeast. That's why we call it a backdoor front, coming from the opposite direction. And there's a lot of disagreement in the models right now how much of that push is going to happen, or is the heat and ridge just going to dominate our area and it's going to be little of any consequence. And you're going to see a lot of variance. If you look at the weather models, you're going to see a lot of changes. You're going to see some weather apps. If they're automated weather apps and not hand typed like ours are, the automated output is probably going to be crazy stuff. Some of them may even show 68 for high and some may show 98 for high. Be careful with the data in the longer term. Just know we are watching it. We'll take it middle of the road for right now, middle ground on this one until we get more data to give an idea, because wave country is going to be right on the edge here of influence of the heat and or that backdoor front. So stay tuned. Just want to show you guys that, showing that next week and beyond is a little bit of a challenge. All the way through the weekend isn't too bad. Now going back in time a bit, sorry to move around. These are the dew points, by the way, Friday morning. This is what I was talking about. If anything develops on the front and tries to move in, it just isn't going to be able to survive very long. And even on the dew points on Saturday, there's low. 60s you may not think is low, but 62 or so is relatively low. In other words, there's a good chance for mixing the atmosphere, enough stirring going on that a pocket of drier air right over the Ohio Valley, and that will lead to temperatures to get up there. Even though we have a green landscape, we then have a good chance, if we get the dew point lower, you have a good chance to get the thermometer higher. And that's why we're talking about 90 to 93 degrees here in Louisville. And you see what happens to the south and west there, temperatures well into the 90s. So Saturday is looking hot. Now there is a chance for this backdoor front to show up Saturday night into Sunday. Now the GFS is bringing it in late Saturday night, actually more so on Sunday it moves it in. Before that happens, again, temperatures on the hot side. And then, well, I didn't finish my maps. I knew I was skipping a map somewhere. Anyway, just to kind of explain, it does have a map, or it does have a band of thunderstorms that roll in and then linger on Sunday with scattered thunderstorms. Still hot, though, around 90. The Canadian model does not, even on Monday, it still has the backdoor front up here. Now, the Euro is not in yet. But the Canadian model is way slow of the backdoor front. It brings it in, but it takes until almost Wednesday to really get it in here. The GFS says it already arrived here Sunday, Monday, and then it's out of here by Wednesday with more rain, with another round of humidity. So this is what I'm talking about. The models are really struggling with the depth of this. I will say we've had some aggressive fronts move in, so it's not unheard of what the GFS is trying to do here. The Euro is what I'm going to kind of use as my deciding factor when I put the numbers in here shortly. But just keep in mind, as we head into late Saturday night, more so Sunday into Monday, there is a chance for thunderstorms along the front. If the front can get far enough away from us, get down here to Tennessee, then we have a chance to have weather as far as comfortability-wise, just like today, but it will still be hot. We'll be not in the 70s. We'll be closer to 90 degrees. This is more of a moisture backdoor front than it is cool air backdoor front. So we'll keep an eye on the changes as we get a little closer. So that's it for now, guys. I'll see you on TV.